Only a couple days after her November 13th statement, where Min Hee-jin said, "I treasure the courage they showed in holding hands again to protect each other. I can start anew anywhere, but NewJeans must be preserved wholly as five." Min Hee-jin has spoken again, this time through a new written statement that was released through attorney No Young-hee's YouTube live stream. That's a very random place. Now, and before we begin, warm welcome, especially to the Min Hee-jin defenders who love leaving angry comments without watching the actual video. You probably won't hear this message anyway, since you'll probably stop at the title and rush to type your hate comments while ignoring all the facts presented here. But here's the thing. Do you know who really hurt NewJeans? Is not the critics, not the media or HYBE. It's the blind loyalty, the conspiracy posts, and the refusal to look at evidence that destroyed their credibility and turned them into collateral damage. So if you're still defending Min Hee-jin after everything that's come out, congratulations. You're part of the reason their careers will never be the same. And so in this video, we're going to break down Min Hee-jin's new statement line by line, the irony behind her NewJeans exist when it's five, this message, and how people are reacting, and what new reports reveal about the group's internal divide and possible lingering ties to Min Hee-jin. Okay? So here's the statement that Min Hee-jin put out yesterday on November 15th. From the very beginning, I envisioned everything around five. The looks, the voices, the colors, the style, and even the choreography all were designed on the foundation of five. That's why people were captivated, and that's how one complete form was created. NewJeans feels truly complete only when it is five. Each member's color and voice intertwine to form one perfect shape. Now that they have returned, these five should be cherished. Unnecessary disputes or interpretations do not help anymore. The essence of all this has been aimed at me. But please do not drag the girls into it. They should be protected, not used. NewJeans exist when it is five. Can I just show you this Kakao Talk screenshot where she, talked about NewJeans members, because the line NewJeans members the five should be cherished. Just reminded me of looking at this particular Kakao Talk messages that she once shared with her colleagues. Yeah, she didn't cherish them. Now, what do you think? It kind of sounds poetic. I think that was her intention, and protective. But beneath the sentimental phrasing, there is a familiar rhetorical pattern that we will expect from Min Hee-jin, right? And one that recent court rulings and industry sources have already called out. So the key phrase, from the beginning, I envisioned everything around five. That sets the tone. It is designed to reassert her authorship, right? Trying to position herself as this architect of NewJeans, their entire existence. And she's not just describing creative directions. She's reminding the public that the group's identity was her design, her structure, and her vision. Yet, you know what's ironic? The irony is glaring. Why? Because when she first conceived the debut lineup, she wasn't guided by some divine sense of five. She was guided by the shaman. As revealed through Dispatch's leaked messages from May 2021, Min Hee-jin consulted a shaman while deciding the debut members. And at that stage, interestingly, the number was 6. And yeah, the conversation literally included lines about 6 feels right or something. Actually 6명 별로. 6명 별로. 7명. So at first, she considered 7 members actually. But then the shaman said, go with 6. A particular trainee is not that good. And they decided on 6. And the 6 members were successfully transferred into Min Hee-jin's hands. And then later, we have recently talked about this particular person, right? The 6th member of NewJeans. But then she got kicked out last minute. And she didn't even have a chance to say goodbye to the members or Min Hee-jin. Go check out this video with this thumbnail if you're interested. So the contradiction matters because it exposes how Min Hee-jin continues to edit history in real time. Like she presents herself as the moral architect while omitting the chaotic and manipulative decisions that did shape the group's early formation, including outside influence from a shaman and arbitrary lineup shifts. So by emphasizing that NewJeans exist when it is 5, she appeals to unity, yet the framing centers herself. It's always her, right? And the logic is circular. NewJeans is 5, but the 5 only exist because she made them that way. So it's both a plea and a claim of ownership, cloaked in, maternal language. She's still thinking of herself as their mom or something. And her next line, the essence is me, or later in the second half of the statement, the essence is me, but don't drag the girls into it. That's even more telling, right? It's an attempt to draw a moral boundary, to present herself as a victim of unfair targeting while appearing noble for asking that the members be spared. Ironically, the essence of this entire saga is truly her. And she's not denying it. She's reaffirming it. But this statement, just like the one on November 13th, avoids introspection though. There's still no acknowledgement of the harm caused to the members, the fans, or staff, or the company, nor any recognition of the legal findings that identify her as the orchestrator of NewJeans' attempted separation from HYBE. Instead, she elevates the narrative into a symbolic struggle, herself as the misunderstood creator or something, and the 5 girls as sacred extensions of her original vision. The timing also matters because her words came out just as media reports revealed that ADOR and the 3 returning members, the older 3 members, were struggling to not ADOR, but the 3 members are struggling to distance themselves from Min Hee-jin. We'll look into this article later on. But by declaring that NewJeans exist when it is 5, she indirectly pressures both ADOR and the members, reframing unity as moral obligation rather than professional decision. So what she calls unnecessary disputes and interpretation, that's in reality the necessary scrutiny that her own actions invited. So the call to protect the girls, that now reads less like compassion and more like narrative control, as always, which is a way to claim moral authority even after losing power. Now, the public reaction was almost unanimously cynical, and they're mocking the moral tone of don't drag the girls into it. And to many people, the irony is quite unbearable, right? She's asking the public not to involve NewJeans after she herself weaponized their image, their voices, and even their families during her power struggle. So let's look through some of the netizen comments. This one, she will never feel remorse. Maybe some financial therapy will help. Here, 금융치료, financial therapy, refers to financial penalties as a result of either criminal punishment or as the loss of legal battles. How about this one? She manipulated immature kids into rebellion, then tried to escape when the verdict came down. How is this different from a failed romance scam? Interesting analogy. You're the one who dragged NewJeans into this separate issue. So, yeah, meaning don't pretend to be the victim while calling yourself a mom, their mom. And these comments. The foolish, stubborn, greedy image. NewJeans made that for themselves, sure, but they did it under her influence. If they would cut ties with Min Hee-jin earlier and done nothing, they wouldn't have ended up with that image. What's the image? Foolish, stubborn, and greedy, according to this particular commenter. Another 덕후 commenter. If HYBE starts pushing to restore their image for a full group comeback, is she going to interfere again? LOL. She acts so holy. Forget all that. Just apologize for pulling your own colleagues' hair, meaning dragging other innocent artists into this mess. Now she speaks up all of a sudden after dragging other idols into this mess who never asked to be involved. ADOR better think carefully. Someone else said, she threw rookie groups under the bus the moment they debuted, and now she talks about purity and protection? That one is referring to Islet. She pretends she cares about them, but her leaked KakaoTalk messages show the opposite. Who talks that way about people they cherish? Yep. That's why I was reminded of these KakaoTalk messages. I'm not going to read those. Someone else said, what are you even saying? You're the one who dragged them into it yourself. Haha. Is she mentally all over the place? She abandoned her artist and still talks this much? Worry about your new company instead. That one is referring to Min Hee-jin's OOAK label that she allegedly formed. There's even a Namuki page already. And the Korean media have paid attention to the fact that one of her logos looks very similar to, there we go. This one. The fingerprints one. Yeah, there was an article about it. That was funny. Another comment. Honestly, we're just lucky she didn't commit fraud. I think this one is like, they're thankful that she isn't like a professional fraudster or something. Well, okay. I'm not gonna, I have much to say about that, but anyways. You're the one who dragged them in. Maybe try cherishing yourself first. Is she talking about herself? This is hilarious. The media world was led by Min Hee-jin and NewJeans themselves. This is unbelievable. Who dragged them in again? Oh, right, you did. Is this supposed to be a self-introduction? So yeah, these comments show fatigue, right? People aren't just angry. They are exhausted by her need to reframe herself as both victim and savior. And every new statement that she's coming up with feels less like reflection and more like reputation management, which is an attempt to narrate herself back into innocence, which is not really working out. And there's also a bit of sarcasm, like is she talking about herself? And maybe cherish the members yourself first. That really captures how detached her messaging now feels. And the audience no longer takes her moral appeals at face value because her leaked KakaoTalk messages contradict the sincerity she's trying to project. So yeah, ultimately the crowd sentiment in Korea has shifted from debate to dismissal, simple dismissal. And Min Hee-jin's words are being read not as defense, but as self-parody almost. And it's like basically an echo chamber where every moral appeal rebounds onto her own actions. Now, if Min Hee-jin's statement that came out on November 15th was an attempt to reclaim moral authority, the next development reveals how far her influence still quietly extends. So new reports surfaced suggesting that the conflict isn't simply over and that inside NewJeans, division remains. So here's an article titled, where is it? right here. Exclusive. The three NewJeans members split with ADOR over distancing from Min Hee-jin, while ADOR said, cannot confirm. Let's check this out. Published by Munhwa Ilbo, journalist An Jin-yong. After losing their year-long legal battle over their exclusive contracts, three NewJeans members who declared their intention to return to their agency, ADOR, have still not bridged the gap with the company. According to reports, a key point of disagreement lies in how far they should distance themselves from Min Hee-jin. There are also circulating rumors that the three members, Minji, Hani, and Danielle, want former ADOR CEO Min Hee-jin to return as their producer. When asked about this, ADOR declined to comment, saying it was difficult to confirm. Among the group, Hae-in and Hae-in officially announced their return through ADOR on November 12th, following thorough discussions with their families. Shortly after, Minji, Hani, and Danielle issued their own statement through a law firm, not ADOR, saying they had carefully decided to return as well. Because their announcement bypassed direct consultation with the company, it was seen as notably different from that of the first two members. The three added that they had no choice but to release a separate statement because ADOR had not replied to their inquiry. And according to one of the media articles out there, they called them and only waited for 30 minutes and decided to release a statement. Now, interestingly, that detail got deleted later on from the article that I read for unknown reason. According to Munhwa Ilbo's investigation, Munhwa Ilbo is the name of the media agency that published this article. The three members' message expressing their intent to return was sent around 6 p.m., roughly an hour after ADOR announced Hae-in and Hae's return. This timing has led many people to believe their decision was influenced by the earlier announcement. However, unlike the first two members who coordinated their return through mutual agreement, the remaining three have not reached a clear understanding with ADOR. When ADOR did not respond immediately, the trio issued their statement through their lawyers around 7:40 p.m. ADOR has since responded cautiously, saying it is still confirming their true intentions. They're probably getting a lot of calls from different journalists. This suggests that, unlike the first two members who agreed to cooperate closely with the company for future activities, the other three have yet to find common ground with ADOR. An industry insider commented, saying they are coming back doesn't solve everything. If they later challenge the company's creative direction or refuse to cooperate, it will spark another problem. And in that case, people will once again blame ADOR for failing to manage the group internally. Okay. That's why ADOR is trying to clarify each member's stance and clear up lingering resentments before officially reinstating them. An interest grows over what ADOR meant by confirming their true intentions. Reports suggest a deeper rift between the company and the three members regarding how far to cut ties with Min Hee-jin. Some sources even claim the trio want her to return as a producer. When asked about this, ADOR again declined to confirm, saying, "We cannot disclose or verify any details about the return conditions or meeting discussions." So wow, they are very tight-lipped. At this stage, however, the idea of Min Hee-jin returning as producer is seen as implausible. ADOR had previously offered her creative authority as a producer until the end of NewJeans' exclusive contract in 2029, but after she lost her CEO position, Min Hee-jin reportedly refused that arrangement herself. After two failed court-mediated settlement attempts, the court ultimately ruled in favor of ADOR. Given that context, if any members are now hoping for Min Hee-jin's return, many people see it as unreasonable. Their comeback isn't about reconciliation, but rather a necessary step after losing a year-long lawsuit and running out of options. There's also concern that Min Hee-jin's return would create pressure on Hae-in and Hae, who already reached an agreement with ADOR to continue their activities, even in Min Hee-jin's absence. In contrast, the other three members never discussed this condition. if Min Hee-jin were to re-enter the picture, those two could find themselves in an uncomfortable or even marginalized position. Another industry figure noted, of course, it's good news for K-pop that NewJeans are coming back. Really? Okay. But if proper procedures and basic professionalism aren't followed, this could lead to another round of problems. The longer it takes ADOR and the three members to reach an agreement and make an official joint statement, the more damage it will do, not just to the three, but to NewJeans as a whole. Okay. So yeah, this report exposes a deeper problem, right? The Min Hee-jin mindset never really left. Even after a full year of litigation, the three members, Minji, Honey, and Danielle, seem unable or unwilling to separate their professional identity from the women who led them into this collapse. And the fact that their return announcement bypassed ADOR and went through a law firm already suggests external influence. And it really reflects the same, PR style coordination that was seen during the height of the conflict. When their public letters, tone, and timing consistently align with Min Hee-jin's legal strategy. So if it's true that these three members still want her back as producer, it just shows a striking lack of self-awareness. And they are effectively asking to reinstate someone whose actions were legally ruled to have endangered their careers and contracts. And yeah, that's not even loyalty. It's something worse than dependency. And also, it's not just about personal attachments. It's about narrative control. Min Hee-jin's repeated statements about NewJeans existing as five and the essence being me. They were psychological groundwork. They framed her as indispensable, ensuring that some members would continue to see her as their only creative master. So, in that light, the so-called 3 versus 2 split is not simply a difference in timing. It's the remains of manipulation. Hedy and Hain, guided by family and reality, have chosen stability. The other three seem trapped in the myth of their former creator, mistaking emotional loyalty for artistic integrity or something. If they still care about art or music, though. Now, the question is, how would ADOR handle all these? And how would HYBE handle all these? Because if ADOR gives in to that nostalgia, they risk repeating the same implosion as suggested by this article. Only this time without the legal ambiguity. Because the longer this tug of war drags on, the clearer it becomes that the real struggle isn't between company and artist. It's actually between reason and illusion, I would say. Now, meanwhile, TV Daily's article written by Kim Ji-hyun, they wrote a critical article. So they reject both the fan-driven victim narrative around NewJeans and Min Hee-jin's self-mythology. Instead, this journalist paints a picture of two intertwined failures: a manipulative creator and a complacent group that never grew beyond her control. So here are some of the points that the journalist made. First, the legal conflict is over, but the emotional and ideological conflict isn't. So NewJeans may have formally returned to ADOR, but that doesn't mean internal healing has begun. And they said that there are still unresolved inner and outer rifts, both among the members and between them and the company. And the group's return wasn't an act of reconciliation, but a legal calculation. And by that, they meant that the members' decision not to appeal was strategic, not sentimental, because the court rejected all 11 of their contract termination claims. So continuing to fight would only worsen their position and expose them to financial damages. And so their return, quote-unquote return, was the only realistic way to minimize risk, not a moral or creative choice. Now, there's doubt about whether NewJeans has truly broken free from Min Hee-jin's influence, which is what the title of this article referred to. NewJeans has they really freed themselves from this mindset of Min Hee-jin being the ultimate creator or the one and only person? And the article says that even after losing the lawsuit, the members still appear mentally anchored to her. And just a month earlier, the article points out, just a month earlier, they called Min Hee-jin their absolute creator and only protector. And the piece questions whether their loyalty to her was emotional, ideological, or born from dependence. And it also states that the so-called three-member return was not a show of unity, but another symptom of division. So their unilateral press release, made without ADOR's consultation, that proves a lack of coordination and independence, the article points out. So the internal split, the 2 versus 3 divide, indicates deeper disagreements and possibly ongoing external influence. Also, public sympathy for the group is fading, the article says. The journalist reminds readers that each member earned roughly 5 billion Korean won after debut. Actually, per year, right? According to the media. So the once popular image of innocent young girls manipulated by adults no longer holds, the journalist says. And their behavior, like filing lawsuits, making legal statements through attorneys, and returning unilaterally, now reads as entitled rather than naive, the article says. And according to the journalist, Min Hee-jin never wanted the members. She wanted their economic value. So the core argument is her endgame was not emotional or artistic, but rather financial. And the article is super critical if you read it. They says that the mother and daughter's narrative was a smokescreen for asset control. And her exit message about the 5 being precious is thus reinterpreted as branding, not love. So, and at the end, it says that in the end, the biggest losers are the members themselves. Why? Because they damage their reputation and industry trust without gaining freedom or control. And what they're left with is fractured public opinion, legal scars, and a company relationship that may never fully recover. And it says the members still don't seem aware of what they have lost. And the closing remark is quite biting. It says, if they truly understood the gravity of their situation, they would never have returned in such a thoughtless way. So the reporter implies that their immaturity continues, not as victims, but as agents of their own downfall. So that was quite biting. Now, the journalists point that NewJeans' return was a survival strategy that reframes the so-called 5-member reunion as nothing more than damage control, legally compelled by the court ruling. And the journalist also dismantles the mother and daughter's image by exposing its financial foundation, right? When it says Min Hee-jin didn't want the members, she wanted the rights they generated. There's that sentence, and it really reframes the entire saga as an economic dispute, being masked as emotional betrayal or something. And perhaps most devastating is the final observation, that the members seem unaware of their own reputational collapse. Let me read this part again. In the end, what Min Hee-jin sought was not the members themselves, but the economic power they represented, the right to their financial output. Her battle with HYBE may drag on, and it's still unclear who will win. But one thing is certain, the biggest losers in this entire ordeal are the members of NewJeans. Unfortunately, they don't seem to fully grasp that reality. If they had, they would not have returned in such a reckless and uncoordinated or thoughtless way. So in the journalist's view, they're not just victims anymore. They have become complicit in their own decline, still echoing Min Hee-jin's language while ignoring how far public sentiment has turned against them. So after all that, here we are. another statement by Min Hee-jin, another round of self-justification, and another wave of people twisting themselves into knots, trying to defend it. And to the Min Hee-jin supporters who somehow made it this far into the video, congratulations. You're part of a very small elite group who actually watched before commenting. And for those who probably already typed, like, you're biased, like 20 minutes ago, thanks for the engagement. You're helping the algorithm more than you'll ever help NewJeans. Because let's be honest, every time someone excuses Min Hee-jin's manipulation or blames HYBE for everything, it doesn't protect the girls. It keeps them chained to a controversy that should have ended months ago. The people claiming to defend NewJeans are the same ones replaying their worst chapter on loop, which is something that I have talked about in my songs that I made while ago. So, with new reports suggesting that some members may still struggle to distance themselves from her, although we don't know if that's really the case or not. I think there's a high chance that's the case though. But it nevertheless raises an uncomfortable question. Has the shadow of Min Hee-jin really left NewJeans, or is it quietly shaping their next chapter from behind the scenes? And if ADOR decides not to take all 5 members back, what happens to the group's future? And what happens to the 3 who still seem caught in the middle? And if NewJeans ever wants to rebuild, can they do it while parts of their fandom still worship the person who broke them apart? And if Min Hee-jin truly believes she envisioned everything around 5, then when will she finally let those 5 exist without her shadow? So these are the questions without clear answers, but let me know what your thoughts are by leaving comments in the comment section. And as always, let's stay positive, respectful, and classy. Thank you guys. Peace and love. Bye-bye.